Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of Rats in My Mattress. Today we're going to be doing a chicken orange cilantro soup. Here, we'll go over what's going to be in it. Potatoes, cilantro, carrots, so you're going to be using a part of a chicken, onion, chayote chicken stock, pepper, and probably going to be adding salt to this one just because it's a soup, depending on the chicken stock. I've never used this chicken stock before. A tomato, leek, garlic, green onion, and spice-wise, a little bit of cumin, paprika, turmeric. Once again, the paprika turmeric is literally just for color. I want to get that golden brown that a lot of chicken soups, kind of like mass market chicken soups, have, that just basically looks really good. So, and yes, we got the turmeric, paprika, some smoked ricotta chilies. So I use these in the last ones. I'm going to be using these probably in almost every recipe. Little onion powder, garlic powder, and cayenne. Alright, so I've got this heating up right now. So it's on kind of a medium-low heat. I decided to kind of change things up. I was kind of hemming and hawing about how to do the chicken in the pan while doing the spices. So instead, I'm going to put it into a cast iron pan. It's going to go into the oven. I'll give the chicken just a little dry rub. And I'm going to do that right now, even though the oven has just been turned on. This way I can kind of like slowly cook the chicken as I'm doing everything else. And then I pulled out some rosemary leaves. I might go out to the garden and get some oregano and thyme, but probably not. So I'm going to put a good amount of these on here because these are dry and they're kind of old, so they don't really have much flavor. But so that's going on there. A little garlic powder, can't hurt. That can't hurt. And a little cumin. I know that rosemary and cumin are not traditionally put together that I know of, but since this is going into a soup, and the rosemary will go with the, basically I'm just using everything. I'm just going to mimic over what's going into the soup, into the chicken right here. And that'll help really bring those flavors out. Alright, so I've got the oven set to 375. I'm going to put this in right now. I'm going to probably reduce the oven down to about 325 in about 10-15 minutes. And no, I have no fucking clue why. That's just what I'm going to do. Alright, so today's little story. Whew, yum, yum, yum. Alright, so onion powder went in first. Some cumin. Alright, so this story goes back to the same place where, we're not going to do the rosemary leaves. Same place where I was living where the rats occurred. I'd started working at this one restaurant where we were the first Mexican restaurant in this entire country. Yeah, probably did about the same amount of everything, kind of all mixed in there. Man, this is like as aromatic as it gets right now. So this is coming along great. This is just really light, powdery toasting. Go some black pepper in there. Yeah, so while working at this restaurant, the guy who owned the restaurant, we'll call him Joe because that's what his parents did. I'm gonna dice up probably half of one of these guys. These are like, oh man, my favorite. I've got 2 of the plants in my yard, but this plant here in particular is the first one that I ever really got any like good chilies off of. So it's by far my favorite. I'm just favoritist like that. So the guy Joe, who owns this restaurant, him and I had gotten to be kind of good friends, and you can't see anything. So Joe was a super cool dude. Helped me out with some stuff here, there, some side jobs. All right, I'm gonna just cut this little guy out right here. And we're going to just throw the whole tomato in there, skin on. I prefer to do it with the skin on because I feel that makes it steam. Alright, so I got the tomato in there. I'm going to add some onion. That's going to put some moisture in there, and that's going to kind of make me check to see if I want to add the oil or not. If the moisture from the onion is enough, then I really don't need to add the oil. Oil will help, but there's going to be plenty of oil drippings from the chicken in a little bit. Alright, so one of the things that Joe would help me with is just little side work here and there. Like, I mean, it was awesome. We're living on an island nation and whatnot. It's super cool. But honestly, you do get bored sometimes. Even though, funny enough, in their own native language, there's no word for the word bored. Alright, I'm doing really big chunks on this onion here. I did 3 cuts across. I probably could have done 2. And reason being because I want this is going to cook down. This is going to like be a lot of the heart of the soup right here. I had celery. I might add celery. I normally don't add celery to this dish, but one of the things that I like doing is once I add something like the onion, is I like stirring it around to get the spices and coating on everything. It kind of just makes it to where it's like, I don't know, I feel that the flavors are more evenly developed that way. Oh, this chicken's coming along fantastic. Even though it's only been a couple of minutes, I'm not too worried because I'm going to be putting it right back into the soup. Ooh, there we go. Oh man, with that rosemary, this smells like this. Oh, it is oven roast chicken. All right. So this is looking nice. It still needs to kind of speed up a little bit, but that soup, man, it's doing its thing. So we're gonna go potatoes next. I just kind of put potatoes in that category of, well, needs to get cooked longer. I'm going to cut them into little parts. Probably don't need to. Say parts because I don't know if I'm going to cut them all into halves. So Joe was super cool enough to hook me up. I like that, but I think I like this way better. So you got your long halves or this. This is going to be heartier, so I'm going with that. Yeah, so Joe was nice enough to hook me up with these little side projects here and there. It was actually kind of interesting because the locals were really confused that a white guy would look for work. Pretty much every white person that these guys knew was a business owner. And I'm not saying this racially or like, oh my god, like I'm white, like I'm not whatever, I'm not, yo, palm strike. So that was a slow heel palm strike, or HPS as we call it in the industry. I'm only going to quarter this. Like once again, like with soup, at least with me, I want these things to be roasted just as much as they're like cooked down. You know, stovetop roasting. isn't really a thing, but hey, we'll make it one. Alright. So right now we got this tomato, some potatoes, onion, and everything's looking really good. It's not sweating enough. I'm not too worried about that though. I might add a little celery just to give it that that soup flavor, if you will. Okay. I still got a bunch of asparagus. It's like on super sale right now, so I'll put some of that in, but this cooks really fast, so that's going to go in way near the end. And because the folks in the 50s did it, I'm going to cut the celery at a diagonal slice. And that's going in there. So now we have what the French like to call a fromage étroit, or a coupe de ville El Dorado, where you have a good base going and a lot of things involved, but it's just cruising. So that's where we're at right now. Yeah, so the reason why I'm not like adding all these things just to the water, like at the water boil, because they won't cook for like fair enough. Like this is real soup right here. So if you want to watch a 30-minute cook show about making soup that the soup sucks, find another channel. Alright, so I've cut the carrot down in half. These are baby carrots, which is a lie because they're actually adult carrots that are cut into pieces and reformed in shape. Alright, so it's getting to the point where we're going to need to start adding some liquid soon. Alright, so I just opened this up. You guys didn't miss much. So I'm going to add this in here. And since I still have a lot of the other stuff, the chayote, asparagus, green onions, leek, more onion, it's still gonna be, the soup is being built, as they call it on the street, on those soup streets. Yeah, because that really didn't do anything but basically diffuse burning of stuff. But it looks fucking killer, I can tell you that. So now, we can actually turn it up. And you can hear that chicken just sizzling away. Because I've never used chayote in a soup, but I grill it all the time on the barbecue and stuff like that. I know it can be basically treated more or less like, I know I've said apple or zucchini. It's a little heartier than that. We're going to do some nice, decent sized cuts. Once again, leaving the skin on. That's just something I like. Personally, I don't mind making the soup or whatever a little too thick. Chayotes do have seeds. A lot of times when you find them in the store, the seeds aren't developed enough to really be a problem. But I don't even know if it's a seed. It's like a pit. Alright, so Joe's helping me out. I'm doing some yard work for him. And this dude comes, I'm not working alone. I'm working with a group of about 4 or 5 other guys, the locals. And this dude comes over and just starts screaming at us, like yelling, like out of control yelling. And he's an old white, like British dude or something. British. So one of those at the outhouses, the garage, and aluminum. So shit like that. And so this dude comes over, but he's yelling some just shit that just did not make sense to us. He's yelling that, "Where's my dog? Where's my dog?" And we're like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? You've been over here doing landscaping stuff. Alright, this is the leeks. Leeks are just big ass onions. And I think that's actually their French or their Latin name. But and green onions, I'm gonna save. I have green onions out in the garden still, so I was gonna save some for kind of a garnish-ish, but no. So now we're mixing. This is gonna be the next stuff being put in because it's a little thinner. It doesn't need to cook down as much. I've got the heat turned up here, and I can hear the chicken's roasting at just a perfect level. And so when working with these dudes, with these locals, one of the things that had kind of like became part of my life there is that these guys, they don't like bring their lunch to work. They bring raw meat, and at about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, one of the dudes splits off, and that person's the cook. And they sit there and they dig a hole, and they get the coals going, some coconut shells, stuff like that. Like they find the wood, everything. These dudes are like, they make their lunch at work. Like, you don't fucking bring your lunch, you make it at work. And so there was oft times like someone would bring some lamb or someone would bring some chicken, and then we'd knock a breadfruit or two out of the trees, and we'd have like breadfruit, and a lot of times there's like manioki or tapioca growing nearby, and you can cook that up. So yeah, I mean, there's always like something local within reach. That, I mean, you could even go to like a neighbor's house and kind of bargain for some bananas or something like that. So there was always something that was good going on. All right, now all this stuff is cooking down. This is going to be delicious. And see, personally, when I make soup, I like keeping the liquids really low until I know that everything that I want in there is cooked to I use the water for the soup to basically hold it in place. So if that makes sense, where it's like this is going to be the broth, this is going to be it, and then after that I'll thin it out to where it's, this is nice, but no, you want this to be rich and just healthy, just madness, and that's where we're going with it. So we're just doing our thing. We're working. This dude's yelling at us, but not. All right. So that I just turned the oven back up on the chicken to 400, and I'm going to start adding kind of the star of the show, cilantro and orange. And this might be a blood orange. I'm not sure, so we'll be surprised. I've never used blood orange in it. It shouldn't change anything. But normal orange. And I'm going to use the orange in two ways. I'm going to use the orange for zest. I'm going to use it for juice. Right now I'm just adding a little bit of the juice. Let's say this is half of it, but I only just gave it a little squoze. So, alright. So yeah, see now I'm going to do some zest in there, because that's really what you want to pop. I could have put the zest in when I was toasting all this stuff, and it would have really changed everything there, but it was, for this recipe itself, I find that fresh orange and not that like smoked or like cooked orange, if that makes sense, is what I want. Like if I was going to be doing allspice, stuff like that into here, then I would definitely go with that with the toasted orange. So this guy's yelling at us, and he's screaming about, "Where's my fucking dog?" And we're looking at him like, dude, you're a fucking madman. What are you talking about? And he starts to saying that like we ate his dog. We're like, dude, what are you talking about? Like what? Like, we're working, we're doing landscaping. I've never in my life been accused of eating anyone's dog. And so this was kind of a first for me. And so I'm laughing my ass off at this whole thing. But at the same time, the dude is just dead fucking serious. Oh, look at that. Alright, so we're going to turn the oven off. I'm going to let this cool down in the pan. Look at all that dripping. That's what we want. That is hot. Alright, oven's off. The chicken's going to cool a little bit. This is kind of just doing its thing. I'm going to start adding some other little things to it. Yeah, so dude's screaming that we ate his dog. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what? And he basically, he's just like not listening to anything we're saying. And so finally, Joe comes out of the house and he's like, wait, what the hell's going on? Like, why are you bugging my workers? And we're just like, Joe, dude, this guy's accusing us of eating his dog. And Joe's kind of laughing about it too, and then he realizes that the guy's dead on serious. And I do gotta say though that the locals, up until semi-recently, would eat dog. I mean, they probably still would, but I mean, it's to them, food was food. It didn't matter. There was no such thing as a pet. And so, I mean, that's just the world that they grew up in. So I'm not gonna be mad at them for that. And if a dog is a food, a dog is a food. But this dude coming and yelling at us about this shit without even like checking anything into it. And so it was actually really kind of comical because this dude is just flipping out. He's just insane. And hold on, I'm gonna add some water to this. Alright, so we're getting to the part now to where it's becoming soup. So I'm going to turn it up because I really want to just cook this down. I want stuff to actually start breaking down. So this dude then, he starts yelling that he's going to call the cops, and we're saying like, go for it, dude. Like, I don't know what proof you have or whatever. And he starts telling us how someone saw us at that morning, which we had done, digging a fire pit, starting a fire, and starting to cook something on it. Yes, we had exactly done that. And so after we confessed to yes, we were making our own lunch here, he runs over and he starts kicking through the fire pit. Like, there's still shit cooking in there. And he starts kicking stuff around. And by now, like, Joe's looking at this dude like, are you fucking crazy? And we're looking at Joe like, hey dude, like, should we keep working or should we go into like security mode on your property? Because that was one of the funny things there is that, like, even though I was just the cook at his restaurant and here doing landscaping for him, I also helped do security there, and so did like basically everyone else who I was working with. That was just something that it was any side gigs you could get, you took. So, alright, this is really, really looking good now. So I've got it turned up pretty high. I'm cooking down a lot of this stuff to where it's basically just going to be mush. And chicken is slow, like it's fucking hot as hell right now. And I'm going to let it cool just a little bit. I want the juices to kind of go back into it. And the cilantro though is really interesting because you don't want to add that early at all. You want the cilantro to be pungent and it's kind of a strong flavor, which is pungent, but you want it to have a fresh flavor. So I'm going to add the cilantro way near the end. And I'm questioning, I'm not going to add these guys. And say I'm looking at them, they're going to cook too fast unless I was dedicating some sort of like, no, it's not going in. So then this dude, he he says he's going to call the cops. We're like, yeah, go for it, whatnot. He calls the cops. Cops show up, and this was probably one of those best weird moments in my life where at this point, like, I'd actually become friends with a lot of the cops. Like, it was small town, small country. Oh, look at that. Oh, man. I've never done a cross-section on a chicken like that before. I'm just going to throw this whole thing in, and I'm going to pick the bones out now that I know for sure that it's cooked. Oh. That's some drippings right there. Oh, man. Yeah, so the cops come out, and they're talking to the dude, and the dude's looking at us, and he's screaming at us. And Joe's trying to talk to this dude. And the cops asked him a really funny question. They asked him, well, was the dog on your property? And the guy just kind of, like, without thinking about it, said, no, it was here. They killed it over here and they ate it here. And the cops just look and they're like, well, so it was on this guy's property, Joe's property. And this aluminium Brit douche fucking basically, yeah. And so the cops go, well, it's not illegal to eat an animal that's on your own property, even if it's someone else's, because that animal is trespassing on your property. And wow, dude, this guy flips out at the cops. The cops are like explaining to him they're local, their law, and this guy just wouldn't fucking give in. He's screaming. Oh man, this is coming along so good now. See that? In a little bit, that tomato will just break down into nothing. I'll start pulling the bones out from the chicken. I'm going to turn it back down a little bit. Alright, yeah, so so then this dude basically, he's yelling at us still. He's yelling at the cops, he's yelling at us, he's yelling at everyone that we ate his fucking dog. And then, I mean, even after giving the news that basically, dude, they could legally eat your dog if they wanted to, the guy's just being a complete douche and yelling at everyone still. Just like, not like, I mean, I understand, like I had a dog and I loved her. I would probably be in the same situation, but he was just not listening to any reason from anybody. Alright, so I've turned it down a little bit. I'm adding the cilantro because I've got the chicken in there, I've got everything in here. And so it's pretty much summing up. I'm going to add some more water and some and the other half of the orange here. And just, it was pretty fucking crazy because basically dude gets fucking towed away by police. Like, come on down, like, we're taking you to the office, we're taking you downtown. And dude just he gets taken away because at that point he was just harassing us, he was harassing Joe, he was just being a nuisance. And so cops take him away and we're going, holy shit, dude, that was some weird shit. Whole time I'm fucking laughing. I've never been accused of eating someone's dog before. But here it was, dude, this is something I can add to my checkoff list. Yeah, and then like 2 days later, I'm working over at Joe's, and funny enough, this aluminium Brit douche dude's wife was super cool, and she'd stopped by and she was hanging out with Joe's wife. They're friends. We're all working in the yard. These two ladies are sitting on the porch, and I come up to ask Jessica, Joe's wife, a question. And as I'm talking to her, the Brit's dude wife, she just points down the road. She goes, "Is that Lucky?" Yeah, and Lucky was the name of the dog. So it was like, holy shit! And there's this dude walking down the street with his dog on a collar or on a leash, probably on a collar too. and just cruising down the street with his dog. And the wife jumps up and she's just like, Lucky, Lucky. And the dog gets all happy and starts running towards her. And the guy walks over. Well, I mean, the guy had let go of the leash because the dog obviously knew her. The dude walks over to us and he's like, yo, I've been walking around with this dog for like 4 days trying to find the owner. It showed up on my property in a city or something like that. It's like, wow, man, that's some dedication. No, we're talking about a village, not a town, a village of like 150, 200 people. So this dude's been walking around for 4 days with this fucking dog trying to get it back to the owner. Meanwhile, this douchebag fucking Harry Potter Shazam fucking aluminium bitch ass fucking Mary Poppins ass punk fucking comes over and he's screaming at us about eating his fucking dog because he saw us making lunch. Oh man. And why I'm so like peeved on it is because perturbed, I guess you could say, is because afterwards, I mean, the wife grabbed the dog, was like stoked, like, hey, we're gonna take the dog. I got the dog. And the dude was happy. It's like, yeah, dude, dog obviously knows you. I'm fucking done with it. I'm out. No reward, thank you. Dude takes off. Wife takes off. I don't know how that works. Okay, well, either or. Dude returned the dog. Wife has the dog. Everyone's all happy. I saw that same fucking Dutch boy for fucking days and days and days after that. Months, randomly. He would come into the bar. He'd come into the restaurant that I worked at. And he never once apologized or even brought up like, hey, yo, I'm sorry for accusing you of eating my fucking dog. So, you know what? Years later now I have to laugh because that's an accusation that, you know what? Dude, you got me. I didn't eat your fucking dog. Like, sorry, bro. Oh, how funny. Alright, well, hey, thanks. I mean, the soup's coming along. The soup's in a fucking wonderful state right now. It's just cooking away. I'm going to turn the heat down. So, I hope you enjoyed today's story. That was... The dog survived. The dog was happy. I got to walk away with a great fucking story to tell later on. And killer soup that has nothing to do with that story, but for some reason making the soup reminded me of that. I have no fucking clue why. But hey, orange cilantro soup, check it out, especially in the wintertime when you're feeling a little down. One of my favorite things to do with it is, while I'm serving it, is putting a little bit of hot sauce on it, like per bite. Oh man, it's amazing. Yeah. Thank you for being here.